Hello, Centralia. I'm Shane Lothar.
And I'm Rachel Roddy.
And this is Centralia On Air. Thank you so much for joining us. Last week on the show, we had Tolene and Jeremy from the Centralia Salvation Army here in studio. They stopped by to share the huge need they have for donations and volunteers around this time of year. Hey, speaking of the Salvation Army, did you know the whole put money in the red kettle thing? It is actually one of the longest running fundraising efforts in the entire world. It was started by a Salvation Army captain in San Francisco in 1891 with a crab pot. Not a crack pot.
Oh, boy.
A crab pot. Basically, he was doing the same thing we do today, just trying to collect money for the poor around Christmas. And the rest is history.
Wow. I didn't know that. There are references to Salvation Army in over 140 movies. Some pretty popular ones, too, like Captain America Civil War, Seabiscuit, A Christmas Story, Titanic, and Batman Begins. I don't remember Titanic.
I don't know if I could place it in any of these movies, honestly. We'll have to go back and rewatch
Christmas
them.
Story, I'm sure.
Well, I was going to be in a movie once, but I backed out.
Really? Why? What movie?
It was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I wasn't happy.
Huh?
I wasn't happy.
Oh!
The dwarf.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, that was last week. But this is this week. And this week, we're going to talk about last year. If you can wrap your head around that.
Right. This week, last year. That's right. On today's show, Shane and I are looking back and sharing some of our favorite moments from our first year of hosting Centralia On Air.
And I've always found there's no better place to start than the beginning. So let's kick it back to January 7th, 2018, and hear a snippet from our very first show.
Oh, this is going to be cringeworthy, isn't it?
Oh, you know it. Big thanks to our first guest, Marcus Holland, for not basically just walking out and canceling on us.
Yeah.
We were that good. We were that bad.
Yeah.
This is Centralia On Air, the first show of a new show, and hopefully not our last show.
That's right. Centralia On Air is anything and everything to do with Centralia.
Yeah, if it's cool, if it's important, if it's relevant to Centralians, Centralianites, the people of Centralia, we're going to talk about it.
We'll have special guests, weekly interviews. We'll talk about events in the area, lots of stuff.
And speaking of interviews, who better to have in studio this week as our first guest, a man who cares a lot about the city of Centralia, a man who needs no introduction, yet we're going to give him one anyways.
The director of Centralia Chamber of Commerce, Marcus Holland. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me.
What would you say the biggest misconception about Centralia is that drives you crazy?
Okay. So what drives me crazy is all the negativity. You know, every town has its issues, and I feel like that is, what we focus on sometimes too much in Centralia. There is so much positive things going on, new businesses, new leaders in the community, kids doing great jobs in schools, and the schools doing great jobs teaching the kids, and we always tend to lean towards the negativity, and so that is my big pet peeve.
And I think we kind of hope to bring out some of that positive energy in Centralia.
Definitely.
There's something we used to do a lot, and we kind of got away from. I don't know why. Probably time constraint.
Right.
Pop quizzes. We used to quiz our guests. And let me tell you, they loved it.
As he's shaking his head no. They did, though. I mean, after we got started and they realized that the questions weren't that scary.
Yes.
And we had fun with it.
Right.
They were okay.
I don't know what they were. You should have heard these reactions during the commercial break. Some of them were wanting to bolt, like they were trying to get out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember one, though. They were hard questions. And I was like, what? Where did he come up with these?
That was one time, okay.
Yeah, one time.
And if you remember, one of our earliest pop quizzes got pretty bloody, if you know what I mean. here's us quizzing Julie Kerner from the American Red Cross. All right, Julie, we're going to ask you some questions about blood that may or may not be related to your job. So, question 1, what is the most common blood type?
The most common blood type.
She's using her cheat sheet. That's okay. It's an open book test.
That's right.
Well, I honestly don't know, but I would have to say maybe A positive. But that's a guess. Am I right or wrong?
You got half of it right. O positive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's something like 38%, I think.
Cool.
What's your guys' blood type?
Rachel?
I don't know, but I'm going to have to find out.
I have an idea how you could do that.
Okay.
I think she can go give blood.
I think she could. And I will be by to give you a ride next week.
All right.
On
That
Wednesday,
sounds good.
what time?
That sounds good. Noon.
Okay, noon it is. My blood type is A positive.
Okay. Mine is probably the only one that could also be converted to a inspirational poster. It's B positive. I really like that.
That's funny.
Cool.
Okay, question number 2. What percent of body weight of a human is made up of blood? Is it 7%, 13%, or 21%?
7.
Correct.
You got it.
Woohoo! Okay, so question number 3. There's red blood cells and white blood cells. Which one are responsible for carrying oxygen through the body?
Red blood cells.
Awesome. Correct. So, what do the white blood cells do?
The white blood cells are responsible for fighting off infection, things that make us sick.
Our defense system, huh?
That's right.
All right. Question number 4, last one. How many miles of blood vessels do we have running through our body?
Oh boy, that is a tough question.
6,000 miles, 16,000, or 60,000?
I'd go with the first one.
You're saying 6?
But it's wrong, isn't it?
60, actually. 60,000 miles of blood
Wow.
vessels. Isn't that crazy?
That is
Yes,
crazy.
that is.
We've had a lot of firsts on our show. Seems how this was our first year doing it. One reoccurring theme is our guest from Kaskaskia College. And it all got started on January 21st, 2018 with KC softball coach Troy Corral.
Now, you're from Centralia, right?
I am.
You went to Centralia High School?
I've been here since Centralia forever.
I think I saw you're a Centralia Hall of Famer,
I
right?
am. Let's get old.
What was that for?
So I was the first team to go to state in 77 for our basketball program.
Cool. Thinking back, what's been your favorite coaching experience?
So I must say, to sit back and say that there's one particular experience that you have, because you gain them every year. And you know this, playing golf for the college, that each team brings its different era in. I mean, you have to coach each team different. You know, you think you're going to be able to just do everything the same way every year, which is not. But the experience that you get is a lot of fun, trying to gain it with every player and stuff like that. My best time, I guess, we beat the number 3 team in our Final Four. Was one of the big things. We had never done that before. And Penny Brooks was my assistant at the time, and which is now my assistant back. I want to promote kudos to her. She's doing a really good job for us. And we got 3rd place, and we beat the team out, and they had to go out to the corner and call another team, cancel their flights to Utah because they just got beat out by us. So that was one of the major things that I really, really enjoyed very much. So.
Another common theme on Centralia On Air has been health. Rach and I always wanted to share anything we thought could benefit people's health. So, naturally, we had on local health and fitness guru Jamie Godoyo. Jamie filled us in on her cold water trick.
Okay, so Jamie, what's the first thing I should be doing in the morning for a healthy start to the day? Tell us about your cold water trick.
My cold water trick. So there's a lot of there's a lot of discrepancies about this. Some people think, you should drink warm water as soon as you wake up, or you should drink a water with lemon, or whatever the case is. Honestly, my firm belief is if you're drinking water as soon as you wake up, as long as you're drinking about 8 to 10 ounces, that's great, because that's a great start to your day. What I've really found for myself is and I know that people can't see this, but I have this little shaker water bottle that holds 25 ounces, and I have 4 of them. And so my goal, as soon as I wake up, I have these in the refrigerator the night before, and so that it's really cold when I wake up, because I tend to think that cold water kind of gets things flowing in your body better. And like I said, there's no science or anything behind that. There may be, but I don't know what it is. But I just think cold water for me personally works better, and that's what I tell people a lot, especially if you're not a water drinker, because it's usually easier to get that habit started. But I go through I have one of these I want finished before I even can allow myself a cup of coffee. So it's almost like my coffee is a reward for getting in my first 25 ounces of water, and then it just kind of sets the day off on the right foot. So then I have to have another one before I eat lunch, and then 2 more in the afternoon. So it breaks it down, so it's not like you feel like you're waterlogged all day.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I've heard that that first glass of water can actually have a lot of the same effects as the first cup of coffee. So
yeah, it's true. It really does. I mean, I think especially with the cold, I think that's part of it, is it just wakes me up better. I just start to feel like, okay, it's time to get moving. Whereas before I did that, it'd be like just slugging around all morning and that kind of thing. But the trick with water is you really want to aim to get half of your weight in ounces of water per day. So like for a 160-pound person, they would want to aim for 80 ounces of water a day.
We've had a lot of guests on our show, and we've had mispronounced a lot of names.
Rachel, you love last names, don't you? It's like your favorite thing. If you could, you would only refer to people by their last name.
Absolutely not.
One of my favorite guest names was Rebecca Becker. That's just fun to say.
It is.
Rebecca Becker.
Rebecca Becker.
Paging Rebecca Becker. Becker 19.
Oh, my. Rebecca and Judy stopped by to talk about how rewarding it can be to be a part of your high school's National Honor Society. So, for those people who don't remember, what is the National Honor Society? Why would a kid want to join?
Well, as a junior at Centralia High School, you are invited to be a part of National Honor Society according to your grade point average. You have to have a 3.5 to get the invite, and then those individuals would receive an application that they have to fill out to justify that they are confident in their service and their leadership. And to be a National Honor Society member, they have to be qualified in 4 particular areas, which is character, service, leadership, and scholarship.
That was actually one of our questions for you. So.
Wonderful.
That's one of our trivia questions.
Wonderful. And so at that point, then the faculty council will vote to make sure that they're qualified in all 4 areas, and then they become a member.
And if they do it at the high school level, then we think maybe it will continue as they become adults. So that's why we want these kids, and we encourage all the high school students to get involved.
Rachel, did you know that on February 11th, we did our first Did You Know? You probably want to hear it, huh?
Oh, yeah. I guess so.
You're thrilled.
Can't wait.
Roll it! Speaking of pancakes, did you know the world's largest pancake was almost 50 feet wide and weighed over 6,000 pounds?
Wow, no, I didn't know that. Did you know if you break the world record for the most pancakes eaten, you won't be in the Guinness Book of World Records?
What?
Because it's not even in one of the categories.
Oh my gosh. But did you know in Sweden you can order blodplatta, which are pancakes made of pork blood?
Ew, yuck.
Right?
But did you know in England you can get the world's most expensive pancake? It's $200 and is made with 23-karat gold leaf.
Yeah, actually, doesn't everybody know that?
Oh.
Another one of both our faves was when Cameron and Rose came from the hospital to talk about their futuristic, I can't believe this thing exists, hyperbolic oxygen chambers.
We also have, at St. Mary's, we have hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is a great treatment method for certain types of wounds.
Tell us about it. I mean, that is so exciting to know that in our rural community, we have 2 hyperbaric oxygen chambers. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. So hyperbaric refers to under pressure. That's what hyperbaric means. In a hyperbaric chamber, you have the pressure of being in the chamber at 100% oxygen. So when we talk about pressure, that is like a scuba diver, and they go down and they have to adjust to that pressure under the ocean. So in a hyperbaric chamber like we have, they measure the pressures in atmospheres, but we can convert atmospheres to feet because it's easier to understand. So a hyperbaric chamber will go to the equivalent of 66 feet of seawater. And that's generally the pressure that we treat at, is somebody at 66 feet, the equivalent of being 66 feet under seawater, breathing 100% oxygen. So at the surface where we're at right now, we breathe 21% oxygen is all that we breathe. So what that does is the pressure and the oxygen helps you get blood flow to all of your extremities. So, for instance, a diabetic doesn't have good blood flow in their feet. Mm-hmm. So if they get a wound on their foot, it's hard for that wound to heal because they don't have the blood flow to their feet to support wound healing. So if you put them in a hyperbaric chamber, the pressure and the oxygen increases the blood flow and the amount of oxygen that they're getting to their feet. And so those wounds can heal, and not just diabetic wounds. There's all kinds of treatments and wounds that we can treat with hyperbarics.
So how would you describe what one of these chambers looks like for our listeners?
So the hyperbaric chambers that we have, it's a large acrylic tube. So it just looks like glass. It's a solid piece of acrylic that's just been drilled out. So if you look at it, you feel like you're looking at a glass tube that's sitting on a metal stand with a big door on the front of it.
Kind of futuristic looking?
Oh, yeah, I think it's futuristic.
Have you been in one?
I haven't been in one for a treatment,
yeah,
but I have been inside a chamber, yeah. And when you're inside, you actually can't even see the acrylic. You just feel like you're laying on a bed in a room because it's so, we keep them so clear and polished and clean.
Oh, nice.
So, and that's on purpose because a lot of people are claustrophobic, and
yeah.
so that's why we could just do it in a metal tube, but then you
out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But if you go inside these acrylic tubes, you can't see it.
Speaking of hospitals, I really enjoyed our interview with SSM President Damon Harbison. Here's a clip from our conversation with Damon.
When I was a little lad, I was trying to figure out what in the world am I going to do when I grow up. 2 things I really loved was business and healthcare. And I just love to serve, and I've always been that way ever since I was a little tot. So in high school, I'm trying to figure out what to do with this interest in business and medicine. I would have loved to have been a doctor or a nurse. I just didn't think that that was the right path for me, and I really reflected on that a lot. I looked at different schools and curriculums, and I said, you know what, I like high technology as well. So let's go to a route where I can use my personal skills and networking skills as well as my love for technology and business. So I enrolled into Kaskaskia College's radiologic technology program to become a radiologic technologist. Absolutely loved it. Of course, I had the best clinical spots and the best curriculum there at Kaskaskia. So I really went ahead and jumped right into a bachelor's level program at Washington University where I furthered my training in radiation to do radiation therapy. So then I had a concentration in radiation to treat cancer patients. And while I was doing that, I thought, I got to do this one step farther. Robots are entering the market with radiation therapy. So I got really interested in what they call the cyber knife, which is using ionizing radiation. You can shape that beam around the tumor and have less ill effects to the normal tissue around it. So I was certified in that, and I call that my baby because in St. Louis I was instrumental in the team bringing that technology to St. Louis, and actually 2 spots within the metro area. So that really excites me, as you can see. Also, I would do my master's level classes even when I was still in school for the clinical, and I started that at WashU, but then transferred over to SIUE in Edwardsville and had a great experience to get my master's in business administration at that campus. Absolutely beautiful. Teachers are wonderful. Real life teachers. They would be business owners and CEOs of companies as well as the faculty. So I'm learning stuff at night and I'm implementing it the next morning as I'm managing radiation oncology at St. Louis University.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Man, business plus medicine. You really hit the nail on the head, president of a hospital, huh?
Yeah.
Another big interview for us was when we got to meet Centralia Mayor Tom Ashby. Talk about starstruck. Rachel, you were so nervous. You could barely talk.
What?
Let's listen. Rachel and I wanted to know, what is the best thing about being mayor?
The best thing about being mayor is that a lot of times I get to be a champion for some of the great efforts that people and organizations have done. I've had the opportunity to be able to do resolutions, proclamations, and those type of things. Matter of fact, I just spoke at the funeral for George Adams, 101 years old, World War II veteran, and that he was part of our Veterans Parade. He had a day for him to recognize it. Just individuals like that. Mr. Adams is also another one. We have 105 years old, basically, and how he still helps celebrate our history of what we have in our community. But so many personal accomplishments to Annie's going as far as they are.
Yeah.
I get to represent all the accomplishments and the individuals within our community. So if I have one thing to be very proud of is that I'm the cheerleader behind it, because people don't realize it's not the group of 1 or 5 people that are doing all this. It's a group of a community that are doing that. And we have to help celebrate that community aspect.
Yep.
So you get to be at all the ribbon cuttings.
Yeah, I figure I can be a Walmart greeter after this.
Yes. You're listening to Centralia On Air with Shane and Rachel. We just got done looking back at some of our favorite moments from 2018. Stick around, we'll be right back with the community calendar. Shane and Rachel here. You're listening to Centralia On Air. Here's a look at the community calendar. Fantasy of Lights at Foundation Park in Centralia, going on now through December 31st.
The Centralia BCMW is hosting a Through the Decades Trivia Night on Friday, January 25th at the Centralia Elks Lodge. Doors will open at 6 p.m. The top 3 teams will win cash.
Spring in the Beehive on Saturday, January 26th in the Woodlawn Community Building from 9 to noon.
Centralia's Home Garden and Business Expo will be held at the Centralia Rec Complex on Saturday, February 16th and Sunday, February 17th.
And to look at your local area blood drives, Thursday, December 27th at the Drury Inn in Mount Vernon from 2 to 6. Friday, December 28th at Irvington Elementary School from 2 to 6. Monday, December 31st at Crossroads Hospital in Mount Vernon from 9 to 2. That's a look at your community calendar on X95 in the Big 1210. If you have an event you would like to share with us, you can call, email, or stop by. For more information about these events and others, check out our website at x95radio.com.
That's it for this week. If you'd like to comment on anything, hit us up on all the social things at X95 Radio. If you like what you heard today, come back next Sunday at 11 on X95 in the Big 1210, where we'll do a Best of 2018 Part 2. You can also find past shows on YouTube.
And for our X95 listeners, be sure to check out Open House Party tonight starting at 6 and Slow Jam starting at 11.
Thank you so much for listening. Have a very Merry Christmas. And until next time, she's Rachel Roddy.
And he's Shane Lothar.
And this was Centralia On Air.